Okay, here we are again for a beautiful day with more chemtrails. Trump won't stop. But anyway, the good evening is broke. Ukraine, the S&P global financial system has declared the Ukraine as being bankrupt. Now, over the Biden administration, over the last 4.5 years, we've seen well over half the world's currencies lose between half of their value and 9/10 of their value. Biden degraded foreign currencies so they could trade into the United States, but more than that, all debt is denominated in U.S. dollars, and we're going to talk about this on number one. That's why we go to Noble Gold. Gold is the place, man. So what's happened is over half of the world can no longer pay its debt. Think about it. Half of the world can no longer pay the interest on its national debt. Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, little countries like India. Now, the major countries, Russia, China, and the United States, have no problem. But most of the countries are switching to an alternate currency than the U.S. dollar because they can no longer afford to pay on the debt. But the S&P Global won't make them bankrupt, even though they're not paying on their debt. Cuba can't pay on it. It went from $1 per Cuban dollar to $30 overnight. Thank you, Joe Biden. Argentina has lost 98% of its value. Turkey's lost over 70% of the value in its lira. Almost all countries have lost massive amounts of currency. Even the euro's gone down in value, but then they bounced it back up, the international bankers. Ukraine was based on the dollar, and now it's switching to the euro, which is a corporation owned by the U.S. dollar. It ain't going to do no good. Broke is broke, and the United States is no longer giving them, well, they may not be giving them $1 billion a day. We, the taxpayers, have spent $4 trillion since 1992 to support the Ukraine. And we're paying on that $4 trillion of debt every year, $200 billion, going up to $230 billion, because our bond rates are going up because our dollar's going in trouble. They keep lowering the interest rates, but our bond rates go up and the mortgage rates go up. 7%. That's insanity. Russia, it's 15.5% for a 10-year bond. But Russia's been pretty stable. So what we've got is a situation where countries can no longer pay their debt. And over 50% of the countries in the world can't pay their debt. And the S&P Global is too wimpy to declare them as bankrupt. But the S&P is funded by the United States Treasury. You fund the S&P. You fund it. And they're a bunch of wimpoids because they're trying to hold the system together with a dead George Soros and a dead Bill Gates and a dead Hillary Clinton. They're all doubles. Almost all the players you see, Putin, Xi Jinping, and maybe even Trump, are doubles. So they're trying to hold the system together, and they can't do it anymore. So we go to Noble Gold to get gold because we know when the dollar falls, the same thing is going to happen that happened in Israel. The dollar is going to lose 50% of its value, and bingo, gold's going to double in price overnight. When's that going to happen? I don't know. As soon as we get a government that's not filled with cowards and yellow belly wimps, like the FBI. Kash Patel told another lie today. Come on, we were well, anyway, we're not allowed to talk about it on YouTube, Zig Heil. But just know that the head of the FBI is a liar. And he goes on shows now, and he lies. Just lies like a rug. Anyway, be ready, folks, because what's coming, you can't stop. Also, you're going to see a spike in food prices because the wells are dry across the world and food production is plummeting. That's not told on the internet. The AI is programmed to feed you crap. So when you go look for something, you're fed crap. You need to go to the individual newspapers. There are food riots now in India, Argentina, Chile, Greece. All over the world, food riots are going on because the price of food has gone up over 100% in the last year. Not only has their currency collapsed thanks to Biden, but the price of food is actually going up in terms of the U.S. dollar. And then, of course, Arthur Daniels Midland, controlled by the Federal Reserve System, buys all the U.S. food, so they screw the farmers. So it's all the middlemen that are making the money, not the farmers. We're still producing food at the same prices we were producing them in 1970. But it's the middlemen that are taking all the money. Federal Reserve is racking in the dough, man. And they merged with the U.S. Treasury back in 33. Anyway, God bless. Thank you very much. Expect some real changes this week on everything. You know, it's funny, that nuke that went off under the Crimean Bridge, I had texted somebody on Sunday, expect a nuke in Russia on Tuesday. Well, the Russians were monitoring me, and apparently they didn't take any action, big dummies. God bless. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.